Local author, best-selling author T.J. Newman is out with another thriller. This one's titled Worst Case Scenario, and it weaves all sorts of real and possible disasters ranging from plane crashes to nuclear meltdowns with family issues and small-town dynamics. Like all of T.J. Newman's books, there's a lot going on here, and we welcome T.J. Newman to Arizona Horizon. Welcome back, best-selling author you.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be back.
Oh, but congratulations. I feel like we started with you on your first book. We had the second book, and now look at you. You're just selling books hand over fist.
It blows my mind as well. I cannot believe tomorrow's publication day of my third book.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Okay, this is, and again, there's a plane involved here because you were a flight attendant for how long?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
Yep.
But the plane's involved, but the plane's not necessarily. How much, give us the storyline as best you can. I don't want to give too much away here.
Yeah, not to give too much away, but it's not exactly a spoiler to say that by the end of the 5th page, the plane has crashed. Yeah. So whereas my first 2 books take place almost entirely on a plane or during the course of one flight, this one takes place almost exclusively on the ground in a small rural town in Minnesota. The flight in question, the captain flying the plane, has a heart attack at 35,000 feet, dies instantly, and it is at the moment that they are doing a bathroom break and the first officer is in the bathroom. So, resulting in a plane crash, and the plane crash happens in this small town into a nuclear power plant.
Yes, and then the fun starts. You had falling, you had drowning, now you got a plane crashing into. Were you like a towering inferno inspire you?
Absolutely, Poseidon Adventure, Tower Inferno, absolutely. And also, you know, my time as a flight attendant, like this is how we're trained to think.
Yeah.
We're trained as pilots and flight attendants to be thinking, what is the worst case scenario? What can go wrong and what am I gonna do about it?
The book follows a number of responders at different places doing different. Was it hard as a writer to keep them all in line?
I outlined profusely. You know, in writing, you have pantsers or plotters. Pantsers are people, authors who write, you know, by the seat of their pants. Yes. They just come up with the story as they write. I wrote my first book that way, and it took nearly 40 drafts to get there and many years to write. Now I have deadlines and I have to speed up the process, so I've become a plotter, which means that I research extensively and then I plot everything out ahead of time. And that process is, yes, like herding cats, figuring out how to make all the different storylines and characters make sense and fall in line into one cohesive story.
Yeah, because every character has their own little picadillos and their own little things that get them going in different directions. But goodness gracious, the research when it comes to, especially with nuclear energy, nuclear reactors, everything from diving to everything. That's a lot of, that seemed like that would have been a lot of research, was it?
It was a lot of research. And I have to tell you, the research for this book terrified me. I went into it not sure what I would find. I wasn't even sure if there was a story there. The idea for the story actually came from a conversation that I had with a pilot when I was doing research for my first book, Falling. And I asked all the pilots that I was flying with at the time lots of questions about flying, nuts and bolts, and I also asked them about the emotional, the psychological side of being a pilot. And so I would ask them the question, what's your biggest fear? And one day I had a pilot who looked me dead in the eye and said, my biggest fear is a commercial airliner crashing into a nuclear power plant. And I paused like you just did, and I thought like, hold on a second.
Bells are ringing.
Bells are ringing, but also like, you know, I'm calling his bluff and I'm saying, come on, we live in a post 9/11 world. They've shown, you know, these structures have been fortified. The studies have shown that if in the unlikely event, and I'm giving my whole spiel as to why I'm not afraid of this, and he's listening to me, and then when I finish talking, he looks me again dead in the eye and says, and that's exactly what they want you to think.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up on edge, and it was, I remembered it, and I sort of tucked it away. So then when I went to write my third book, I went back to this and said, is there anything there? Let me just see. And it did not take me long to figure out in the research process that there is a lot of validity to those fears.
Yeah, and just the research, the rescue operations, the recovery operations. The family issues are also a big focus here, parental issues in a variety of levels. Was it difficult to weave that in? Because they're there, and it's part of these people, their character and their makeup. And that helps explain why they do certain things in the recovery and rescue.
Absolutely. You know, I write massive, entertaining, blockbuster action thrillers. Those are the stories that I love. Those are the stories that I want to write, that I want to watch and read. But explosions and car chases and all of that wonderful stuff, it's not going to sustain a reader for 300 pages. There has to be more there. There has to be a reason why people are fighting so hard for something and sacrificing for something. The heart has to be there. And I've always found it centered around family, whether it's the family unit of a crew on an aircraft or a nuclear family, no pun intended, in this book. It's all about the people that we love. And this small town community is that they're their own family. They're all they have.
Yeah.
Help's not coming. So it's up to them to save not only themselves and their community, but the country and the world.
The way the book ended, is that how you plotted for it to end, or did that happen just as you got there?
That happened as I got there, and no spoilers
Yes.
on the ending.
No,
but
no.
this was the first ending that I had that it ended how it had to end. But boy, sometimes I wish things didn't have to happen the way they go.
Were you tempted to have it end differently?
No, because it's the service of the story. You
Yeah.
know, it's whatever the story needs, and my personal affinity and allegiance to the characters is secondary.
Is Hollywood expressing interest? If they've expressed interest in the first two, what about this one?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, we'll see what happens down the road. I don't take anything ever for granted, and just the fact that my first two books have movie deals attached to them. Falling is with Universal Pictures and Drowning is with Warner Brothers. The fact that those are moving forward is just blows my mind.
Are you working on your next one right now?
I'm not at the moment. I'm going to take a break. I mean, I've got stuff in the work. I always have stuff going on, but this is, my third book and one script because I'm doing the adaptation for
Oh, wow.
Falling.
Okay.
Yeah, so one script and 3 books in 4 years. I'm tired. I need a break. I want to go find a beach somewhere.
There you go. When you were stocking books and answering dumb questions from people like me at Changing Hands, did you ever think that this kind of success was going to happen? I'm going to be honest here.
When I used to shelve books by authors with the last name Newman, my last name, I used to take my thumb and cover up their first name and pretend that I was shelving my own book.
Wow.
I dreamed of this moment. I had no assurances that it would come, and boy, was it uphill to get here, but a lifelong reader, a lifelong writer, a lifelong dreamer of being a published author. But it was my time when I worked at Changing Hands Bookstore when that dream became a concrete goal.
Well, it is a concrete success right now. T.J. Newman, again, worst case scenario is the latest. It is always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much.